Good morning again, boys and girls. I am going to start with foundations. I hope you have your chart. Please take it out as we are going to go over the letters and the sounds of the alphabet. This is very important because this is what's going to help you read and get you ready for kindergarten. Repeat after me. A, apple, A. B, bat, B. C, cat, K. D, dog, D. E, ed, E. F, fun, F. G, game, G. H, hat, I, itch, I. J, jug, J. K, kite, K. L, lamp, L. M, man, M. N, not, N. O, octopus, ah. P, pan, P. Q, U, queen, qu. R, rat, S, snake, S. T, top, T. U, up, V, van, V. W, win, W. X, fox, X. Y, yellow, Y. And Z, zebra, Z. And the letter this week is I. You should be looking at that video. It's from YouTube, and it makes a lot of sense about the letter of this week. The story for today for our read aloud is Curious George Plants a Tree. It's a story about Curious George going to the Science Museum and helping Dr. Lee set up for the event. But what happens in the process could really get you in trouble. Let's see what Curious George does this time. The story is written by Monica Perez, but the illustrations are from Margaret and H.A. Reyes. Curious George, a plant plants a tree. Let me get you closer and I will be reading. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today was a good day to be curious. The man with the yellow hat was taking George to the Science Museum. The museum was one of George's favorite places. There was always something new to see and interesting to learn. Often there was a special exhibit, and George wanted to know what it was today. But first he had to make his favorite museum stops: the rocket room, the mirror maze, and the butterfly space. Finally, George and his friend made it to a special exhibit room. The sign read, "How can you take care of our planet?" George learned many things. How all people, animals, plants, air, and water on the planet make up the environment. How trees help keep the air clean, and how people can help protect the environment from pollution and too much trash. George was a great time. George had a great time and didn't get into any of his usual mischief. As he and his friend were leaving, they bumped into the museum director. Dr. Lee looked happy to see him. "How is my best monkey visitor?" Dr. Lee asked George. "I'm so glad I ran into you. I wanted to tell you that we're having a Green Day rally tomorrow at the park." George was curious. Whatever a rally was, he was sure that the park was a good place to do it. "We're going to plant a truckload of trees and collect used paper for recycling," Dr. Lee explained. "We didn't have much time to advertise, but we need lots of volunteers. How would you like to help out?" There was nothing that George liked better than to help. "What a great idea," the man agreed. "We'll be there." That night, George was ready to do his part for the recycling drive. He gathered every newspaper in the house and stacked old mail on the top of the papers. He piled empty cardboard boxes and food cartons on top of that. What a heap! What more could he add? George scratched his head. Then he took several books off his bedroom shelf. Just as George was about to add them to his recycling pile, something lifted the books out of his hands. "Not so fast, George," the man said. "These books are made of paper, all right, but you can read and enjoy them many times. And when you're done, you can donate them to other kids or your library. Reusing is just as important as recycling." The next morning, George and his friends set out for the park with their wagon of neatly stacked paper. Suddenly, the man stopped and said, "I forgot my gardening gloves." "Go on without me, George." "I'll be there soon." As George walked down the street, he spotted several newspapers lying about on his neighbor's front stoops. George had an idea. He had lots of room in his wagon. He could recycle all those newspapers. So even though the newspapers belonged to the neighbors, he didn't ask. He just took them. Do you do that? And the newspapers were not the only things he could recycle. He noticed a stack of paper cups sitting on the table. Under a tree into the wagon they went. So did a pile of magazines and a heap of papers someone left on the sidewalk. Now you're getting in trouble, George. Look at what's happening. George was happy with his great load. At the park he found Dr. Lee, standing under a big banner. "Good morning, George," Dr. Lee said. "I'm so glad you came and brought all your friends. We need lots of help to get the job done." George turned around. He was surprised to see so many faces, but they did not look very helpful. They looked angry. Why? Do you know why? Something that makes them angry. Taking what's not theirs or taking what's theirs. Taking that something belonged to them, of course. The man with the yellow hat arrived just in time. He explained to their neighbors that George was gathering paper for a good cause. They were no longer mad. They even stayed to help plant the trees. So if it wasn't for the man with the yellow hat, George would have been in trouble. But this is how we solve problems when we have issues like this. "George, you saved our green day," Dr. Lee said. "With gratitude, these trees will provide fresh air, and each summer we'll have more shade, which means we'll use less water to keep the grass green. Thank you." Being a monkey, George had known all along how important trees were. The end. And I hope one day, if we ever get to meet during this year, in June, we have a day that's called Arbor Day. We can try to do that if that's what you want. Before I leave, I'm reminding you to use your journal to write and draw and add details. I've been seeing a lot of beautiful work. Kudos for Ruth for doing a beautiful job with the flower and the heart and writing words under it, drawing it herself, as well as Kayleen. Good job, little girl. You really know how to draw and add details to your picture. If you still need space and you need more, use your small one. And if you need extra, let mommy know so that I can bring them to you. Well, see the next video on math and have a great day.